Yeah. Just focusing my camera there. How's everybody doing? Welcome back to another ADSR Sounds live stream. My name is Mr. Ed Rollo. Thanks for joining us. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are in the world. I hope you guys are doing well. I hope you're just as excited as I am about the new release from Ableton. They have just announced Live 11 is coming soon. I am one of the lucky ones that's been on the beta program for about 2 months now. I was sent an early version of the beta, and we're all in beta at the moment, so I believe that it is a public beta, so anyone can sign up for it at this stage. And we're going to take our first look at all the new features of Live 11. There is a few things still to come which we won't be able to cover today, but I'm going to do my absolute best to make sure that you guys get a full overview of all the features. And if you have any questions, then I'll be more than happy to answer them also. I'm streaming to you live from Hong Kong today. I just wanted to thank ADSR for having me back. It's been a while since I've been on the stream. I'm super excited about Live 11. I think we'll just get stuck right in. We've got a lot to cover. I'll be checking the chat. We're streaming on YouTube. We're streaming on Facebook. We're streaming on Twitch. So there's a lot to cover. I've got a few windows open here. I'm going to do my best to take my time and get through all the features. So let's get stuck into it. Let's take a look at Live 11, and for those of you who haven't seen it yet, then here is the preview. All right, bam. Straight away we can see that the interface is very much the same as Live 10. If you're familiar with Live 10, then you will probably notice a couple of things which have been added. What we'll do here is just go over a few minor details and a few minor updates before we dive into the big stuff and dive into the good stuff. So straight away we can see that we have, I'll move my window down here so you can actually see this. We've got a couple of new categories that have been added to the side here in our browser, like the grooves and also our templates. This is a really nice place for us to grab all of our default live sets in here. I just have a bunch of MIDI tracks and some audio tracks, and also have all my analog gear. So this is super handy. If I just want to drag out my analog gear, I can just drop that straight into my project. Don't have to go sifting around for it, and all my analog gear is just sitting here ready to go. Just going to move this window back up because it's about all that's been changed with the categories there. And our audio effects. Now all of our audio effects have been grouped into categories a step further. So we've got drive, dynamics, EQs and filters, modulators, performance effects, pitch and modulation, time and space, and utilities. We're going to see a few new skins that have been added actually. If we go into our preferences under look and feel, we've got a couple of new skins that have been added. We can also do things like increasing the grid line opacity. This is a really nice one if you're doing demonstrations or for the vision impaired as well, which is quite handy. So these are just some of the basic interface updates that if you're sort of familiar with the Live 10 environment, you'll be quite familiar with Live 11. Now, let's dive into the big stuff. I'm going to categorize everything into the major updates, the major additions, and then we'll cover things like the new devices and not only what's been added and what's changed, but also really practical applications of how to use these in your own music. So one of the big things for me that I think was the most important feature of Live 11 is the MPE compatibility. For those who don't know what MPE is, it stands for MIDI Polyphonic Expression. It's a Essentially, what we've done is added more dimensions to the MIDI environment. If you're already familiar with MIDI, we have certain messages like velocity, note on and off, and what we've done is added 3 new dimensions, which is pitch, pressure, and slide. Now, these dimensions allow us to just access way more expressive techniques when we're performing or writing music. And typically speaking, this would be achieved by having a really powerful MIDI controller with the ability to move your fingers in various ways and to get a lot of expression this way. Now, without being limited to an actual controller, we can actually take things a lot further in the software. And I'm going to show you how to do that today. I actually have a Push 2 sitting here in front of me, and Push 2, when we update the firmware with the Live 11 software, will actually allow us to access one of these dimensions, which is the pressure dimension. So we've got pitch, we've got pressure, and we've got slide, and we can access the pressure dimension on push. Now, the unique thing about this is the polyphonic capabilities. So this is a super important thing to keep in mind, and I'm going to do a couple of little demonstrations of how powerful this is. With the polyphonic capabilities, it now means that those extra dimensions that we've been added is split over each one of our fingers. So as we're playing our keys, we now have a pitch control per finger. We now have some sort of mod strip or modulation, the slide dimension per finger, and we also have aftertouch as well. And this, I think this is what also separates for us to be able to access these dimensions, we also need a polyphonic, well, an MPE enabled instrument, I should say. So we've got the controllers, we've got the instruments, it's got to be incorporated into a DAW. It's pretty complex stuff, but let's show you how we can set this up really easily on the push. So what I'll do is just go back to my main view here, where I've got the push in front of me. We head over into the setup mode here, and then we can access, there's another dimension which has been added here, which is poly. You just have to flick that over, pressure, which we just flick that over into poly mode, and we're now ready to access that pressure dimension from push. So as I hit down on a note, just making sure you guys can hear that. I think we're coming in loud and clear. Beautiful. We'll switch back to live. Just know that I've got a push in front of me. And we're going to head over into Wavetable here. Wavetable, we now have an extra tab here which has been added. We've got our mod sources, we've got the matrix, we've got MIDI, and then we have the MPE tab. Now as I press down a note here, you're going to see under the pressure dial here that we're getting this response. And I can hold down a chord. Right. So we're getting some information sent to Wavetable here, but what we have to do is actually assign this to something. So I'm just going to click on something quite obvious like my filter frequency here. Let's bring the filter frequency down a little, and let's assign the pressure dimension to the filter. All right. Really nice. So as I'm pressing down there, I'm actually able to modulate that filter, and I'm actually able to do this polyphonically. What I'm going to do here is actually show you just the power of the MPE, I guess the polyphonic idea. And what I'm going to do here is assign the filter to the LFO. And I'm also going to assign the pressure dimension to the LFO rate. So let's go down to pressure, LFO rate, and let's assign that to this. So now as I press down on a note, it's actually going to make the filter go faster, and you'll hear this here. Let's just bring down the pressure on the filter a little bit so we can hear this a bit more intensely. So that's just with a single note, but now have a listen as I add in an extra note, how we're getting this independency between the filters. Yeah, so this is like where things get super powerful. So where we've got one filter which is just doing wah, 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 and the high filter is got this like exponential rhythms going on. So we kind of get these not only polyphonic, but we get like this polyrhythmic stuff going on too, which I think is super powerful. And this is what separates an MPE instrument from a non-MPE instrument. If I was to grab a, say, analog or operator and drop it in here, I wouldn't be able to get that flexibility. It's like every one of my fingers has a separate filter. All right, so I'm going to undo this LFO demonstration here. I just wanted to show you exactly just how powerful this is. I've got a little idea up here that I've been working on, and I'm just going to lay in some chords here on the push, and I'll show you how we can access the other dimensions, which is slide and note pitch bend in live. I can't access them on the push just because I physically can't do it. The pads are not set up that way. But let's record an idea in here, and we'll take it further. All right, just a simple little chord progression there. Playing wasn't too bad, I don't think. All right, let's double click on this guy and open up our MIDI tab here, so to make sure you can see this nice and clearly. Bring my talking window up a little bit. Beautiful. There's a lot to show and a lot on screen. Let's bring this out so we're nice and perfect. There we go. All right. It's all about the symmetry. Okay, so this is the note expression tab, all right? If we're used to live environment, we have the note tab, then we have the envelopes tab. We now have a separate tab here for note expression, and this is where we access all of our MPE information. We have extra lanes down here. Here's our velocity down the bottom here. Things look a little bit different here. Our lollipops are now going horizontally as opposed to vertically, and we can adjust our velocity still nice and easily. Make sure that everything's kind of sitting in the same ballpark. My playing was a little bit sloppy here. I didn't hold these notes down all the way, but that's okay. And we can see the individual control here of my pressure dimension and just how we're getting these slight little variations between my fingers. So although I'm pretty much playing the same thing, it's still going to be slightly different. It's going to be a different kind of timbre, if you will, when using this MPE capability, this polyphonic expression. So we've got these simplified breakpoints. If we click on a note here, we've got these simplified breakpoints. We can move this expression around super easily, nice and simple. And we can do things like adding in some curves, just holding down Command. We can also go over to our pen tool and we can like Mr. Squiggle some notes in here too if we wanted to. Let's take that back. I think I like the original playing that I had, but really flexible. What I might actually do here is drag these notes out to make my playing look like it was better, because this is going to be important to take things further. Now I've just kind of got a flat line here, so maybe I'll actually use the pen tool here and just Mr. Squiggle in some expression. Let's go back up to this guy, add in a bit more, something like that. One more note to add in here. Oh yeah, nice and smooth. All right, so that's our pressure dimension. Let's head on up to slide. Okay, now if people are familiar with things like the Rolly keyboard, this is where you could access that slide dimension, right? Where you're sliding your fingers up and down. Now we can't get that on the push, but we can just write in some of our own slide information. So let's go up to got this top note here. Just click on a lane on one of these automation lines. Let's just put in a slide function there. Let's put in another slide function here and maybe give it a bit of a curve, and we can put something in the middle here too. Maybe something like this. Let's give this some curves. Let's give this a nice kind of parabolic shape, something like that. And now that we've written in some of this, or we've drawn in some of this control, this slide dimension, we need to go back to Wavetable, head on down to the slide dimension and assign it to something. So I'm just going to assign this to my oscillator position, which means that as my notes play and that slide automation is in there, it's going to slide through my oscillator position, but you're going to hear this kind of polyphonically, especially towards the end here of these notes. Let's just have a listen. Let's solo them so we can hear it. And what I might do is actually just bring the overall filter down a little bit. Let's have a listen again now. Yeah, so we just get this extra level of expression, which I think is super cool. So this is the slide dimension. I could go through here and add some more slide parameters, but I am a bit conscious of time. We should just keep moving. I'm going to go up here to my notes so I can access the third dimension, the final dimension, which is pitch. And I'm just going to put the grid onto 16th notes here so that we snap. What we can do is click on the individual notes themselves and actually just draw in some pitch bends or some glide or however you want to look at this. And we can do some pretty crazy stuff here, like crossing over notes, sliding things around. And this is probably my favorite function or my favorite aspect of the Live 11 update, is this ability to draw in this really complex pitch modulation, pitch automation. So what we'll do here now with this complex kind of crossover going on here, let's go back to Wavetable. Let's go back into this note pitch bend, and we're going to head down to the pitch and just assign it to that. Let's head back over to our notes so we can see this in the flesh. Let's just play along here. Yeah, so you just get these really nice kind of drone effects. I mean, this just opens up a whole world of possibilities for sound design. I've already written a couple of tracks with Live 11 already, and I've been utilizing this function for like really nice thick pad sounds. You get that really cutting edge kind of melodic, deep house kind of melodic techno kind of sound, which is really popular at the moment, and we can just achieve that super easily. I got a bit carried away with it with the latest track I'm working on, and I just glided every single note. So really, really nice feature. Fantastic. So this is the world of MPE. Now, if you don't have a controller, I suppose this demonstration was to show you the power of MPE without a controller. We can still access these dimensions via the MIDI clips themselves. Whilst we're on MIDI clips, there's been a few more updates to MIDI clips. Actually, there's been a lot, so we need to cover a few things here. I'm going to head up to my drums here. I just have a classic 808 loaded in here. Let's have a quick listen. Yeah, nothing special going on there. I've just got some 16th hi-hats, kick drum playing, and I just have a groove on here as well with about 30% timing going on. Now, what we're going to do is actually just add in some velocity variations here. And what we now have in our MIDI clips, if we select our notes, I'm going to select all of these MIDI notes here, is we have velocity range. So I'm going to hold down Option, or Command, sorry, and click and drag these guys down. And this is going to give me a velocity range of my hi-hats, which gives me like velocity probability, if you will. So that as the notes are playing along, we're going to get this unpredictability, and we're going to get this randomization of our velocities of our hi-hats, which are going to sit somewhere within this given range. We have our velocity range up here. It says I'm at -84, which is from my base velocity, which is at 100, I believe. And really nice now, if we have a listen to our hi-hats, we're going to hear this like natural shuffle going on. Oh, I just reset everything. Let's do that again. There we go, velocity range. Yeah, super nice. Like just a very subtle effect, but adds that human feel. It takes away, you know, quite a few minutes of sitting there and dragging your velocities around to give it a little bit of variation. So ever evolving loops, basically. Now, let's go down to this next lane, which is a new lane that's been added, which is probability. So now we have, I'm going to get rid of velocity here, so we're just focused on the probability. We now have the ability to change the probability of a note being played, or the chance of a note being played. We get a value here in percentages. So we can, what I'll do here is just duplicate a kick drum, bring my probability down to say around 26, we'll have to do it. And let's duplicate this guy, move it over to say here. And what I'll do is just duplicate this pattern all the way across the board here. So now I have twice as many kick drums in my MIDI clip here, but half of those kick drums are only going to play 26% of the time. Now you're kind of at the mercy of the, you know, probability algorithm or whatever it is going on in the background there. So you never really quite know what pattern you're going to get. Sometimes it's better than others. I noticed here we had a couple of repeated notes at the start and then a whole bunch of nothing and then a couple of repeated notes at the end. So you just kind of have to juggle around and find that kind of happy medium until you kind of, you know, find something that you like. You could leave it ever evolving, or you could record these ideas. There's so many different applications for these. I actually find it's a super powerful function, which I've been using for melodic content as well, which we'll go into. So we've got some velocity range going on here. We've got some probability going on down here. Let's actually just hit down the pen tool, and I'm just going to splat in some rim shots all the way across here. Now, by themselves, these guys would sound pretty raw. Okay, they've got a little bit of swing on here, but we can take things a step further. So let's highlight all these guys. And we've got a new randomize tool. So now we can randomize our velocity. So we've got random velocities going along here. Let's collapse this guy and select these guys. And now we can randomize probability also. So we've got random velocities, random probability. Let's have a listen. Very nice. Let's head over into the rack here, and I'm just going to spice this up with a little bit of reverb. I'm going to hold off showing you the new reverb just until where we get to that point. So I'm just going to use our stock standard reverb, drop it in here. Beautiful. All right. So we've got this loop, which we've kind of transformed in just a few clicks of a button into something much more interesting than it was to begin with, which was just a really straight kick, a really straight hi-hat, and now we've got these nice little unpredictable notes happening with our rim shots, with our kick drum, and with our hi-hats, and we could take this a step further, obviously. Things get pretty hectic down here with lollipops all over the place, sideways lollipops, I'm not sure what we call them now, but when we're in this, in our velocities here, if we hold down Command, that's going to show everything that has a velocity range on it. We also get a tiny little dot in here. I'm not sure if you guys can see that on the screen, if the resolution is sharp enough, but we can actually see that this guy's been assigned a velocity range with a dot inside of it, and the probability comes up with a little corner arrow in the top right-hand corner there to show that we've got some probability assigned to these notes too. Beautiful. Let's continue with MIDI clips. There's been so many updates to MIDI clips. I'm really quite excited about this. So let's head down to my whirly keys here. Now we're done with probability and velocity. We can get rid of that. What I want to show you here is the new scales mode. So we have a scales mode over here in the note editor where we can switch this on. Super powerful feature, really, really nice. We now have this, which is going to show our selected scale up here beautifully in the note editor. We can select a key. So I think I wrote this in the key of F, and I actually picked a pretty crazy scale for this, which is Messiaen 3, which was the only scale where these notes fit, but we can now see all my notes are sitting within the scale. These grayed out lines here are the positions that don't sit within this scale. And we can also fold to scale also. So now we're only seeing that scale, which allows us to write music so much more easily now. We used to do some hacks with MIDI effects and dragging down, say, chord devices and scale devices and filtering notes that way, but now we can actually see them. We can write music so much more easily and freely. What's really cool about this as well, and you can't see on my camera, but this is also responsive on the push to. So if we go into scales mode, we can scroll through the scales. In fact, I'll do it for you now just so you can see this update in live as I scroll through the scales. I'm just scrolling from the push. I can change my scales and I can select the different keys. I mean, come on. So good, so overdue, and just absolutely amazing that we now have this. So I'm going to jump out of scales mode because what I want to do is add a few notes to this bass line up here. So I'm going to hold down Command. So we're holding... We can hold down Shift and select both of these MIDI clips. So I've got this multi-MIDI clip mode now. So I'm looking at my bass down here in purple, and I've got my keys up here in red. And we can choose to focus on just our bass here, and we can input some notes or just our keys here. But we have a separate focus button now, which allows us to just work on our bass, or we can go over to our keys and just work on the keys. So I actually want to go over to my bass here. I'm going to focus on the bass. I'm going to select all these notes. I'm going to do an old Command C, Command V. I'll do a Shift and up. Did that even work? Command A, Command C, Command V, Shift and up. There we go. All right, so I've spliced in an octave above here, my bass line. Now I'm going to utilize some of this probability here, and let's bring this probability of these higher notes down to, yeah, I don't know, somewhere a little bit lower maybe. So we just get this occasional octave. Let's have a listen now. So let's just solo the bass. Yeah, so we get these occasional octaves just pinging every now and again, and my bass is actually in monophonic mode. If it was in poly mode, then we'd hear two notes at the same time. But because I'm in monophonic mode in wavetable here, then we're only hearing one note at a time, and using the probability to kind of determine when those notes play is just super sweet. So really nice feature that, and really cool that we can kind of edit and focus on the various parts whilst we're in MIDI clips now. So just a brief recap there of everything that's been added to the MIDI clip environment. There's quite a bit of stuff, right? So we've got scales mode and the ability to fold to scale. We have the new note expression where we can do the MPE, where we can access the MPE side of things, pitch, pressure, and slide, the three new dimensions that have been added to the MPE world or to the MIDI environment. And then we have multi-MIDI clip focus. We also have the chance tools like velocity, range, and probability, and the randomize tools as well. So many updates to MIDI clips. Super excited about that. Totally transforming the way that I'm making music already, and I'm sure you guys will love it too. So whilst we're on the bass here, what I'm going to do is go over the new function. This is a big one. Track comping and take lanes. This is something that has been long overdue in Ableton Live. I know people have been wanting this for a very long time, myself included. I've never really been one for like tracking vocals or anything like that, but I have been loving the ability now to do multiple takes of things like my analog gear. I've got a bunch of synthesizers here in my studio. I also like to lay a bit of like guitar down into my tunes. And this has been massive game changer now that we can do track comping and just keep recording our takes. And the beautiful thing about this now is that it's all stacked up neatly and we can just kind of select our ultimate best of take. It's really straightforward. It's super simple. We don't really have to set it up, but what I'm going to do is just show you a couple of examples of how I've been using the take lanes. So I have an audio track here. I'm just going to arm this guy, and I'm going to take an input from my bass up here. And what we're going to do is just record a few takes of me just tweaking filters and stuff. And also we've got this probability. So this is kind of a nice application of this. We've got the probability of these occasional octaves that are playing. So I'm going to record a few takes to see which one of these I like the most, and then we'll take it from there. So I've got a loop set up. My track's recorded. I'm taking an input from my bass. Let's go up to my bass here so I can tweak it on the push. Wavetable here. And let's record. So just a little bit of filter tweaking going on there. That's just my bass. I was just tweaking the filter down here in Wavetable, in case you were wondering. Getting some nice sort of resonant peaks and changing the oscillator position a little bit. Let's just reset that. All right, so you can see here that live just started taking. I didn't have to set up anything. I didn't have to click anything, enable anything. I just set up a loop, hit record, and it starts taking lanes for us. It's really that simple. Not much that we can really go into here besides that we can highlight various sections here, and this is going to just snap up the top here all of our kind of composite takes that we want to go through here. So just using the pen tool I've found is probably the easiest way to do this, and we can go through here and just select any one of these bits of audio. It's going to snap up there automatically for us. I'm just doing this totally randomly. Very nicely, nice interface with this, all the random colors of our clips. Super easy. Let's have a listen to this. I'm not too sure what it's going to sound like. Yeah, not too bad. Yeah, it's pretty cool. I kind of like my original bass there. This is really just for demonstration purposes. So another way that we can access our takes down here, we can highlight sections and just hit enter, and that's going to snap up here into our lane, into our main take, sorry. Hit enter over here, highlight and enter. We can still edit things here further. We get automatic fades, which have been created for us, which is beautiful. We can do things like repeating sections. We can just duplicate stuff from here. We can preview our individual lanes. Super simple stuff. So what I want to do is actually go a step further. I'm going to delete all of these, and we'll delve into some sample packs here. I've just got one from ADSR here, the Strictly Drums pack by VariaVision Rex 2, and I've got a whole bunch of just random top loops. So let's select 4 random loops, drag these over to our lanes, hold down Command, and so we can just drop any audio source into our take lanes here. And without even listening to this, I'm just going to select the pen tool and go through here and just grab some snippets. So we can kind of create our own custom take here of audio shots. Yeah, bits and pieces. This might take a while. I'm not going to go the whole way. Let's just do a little bit more. Yeah, we'll get a couple of longer notes. This guy. Couple more. All right, that'll do. Now I'm just going to highlight everything here and duplicate that across. All right, so now we've just got this like random percussion in here. I've basically Frankenstein together this percussion loop. Let's have a quick listen to it. Nice. There's a couple of these hits, like this one's a little bit loud, so I can just select this guy, hold down Command, and I can cycle through my other takes. What's really neat about this is we can do it whilst our take lanes are closed, and I can just select this guy, hold down Command. Let's cycle down. Bit too loud for me. Well, they're all quite loud, so what we might do is just maybe duplicate a few hits over here. Let's have a listen now. Let's duplicate a couple of these guys too, get some glitchy stuff going on. Maybe we should duplicate this instead because it's actually on the transient. Cycle through, let's change one of these hits. Sweet, let's have a listen with our drums as well. Really nice way to just add this unpredictability in here. So I've been really enjoying using this technique with the track comping. So amazing function, really long overdue for Ableton Live. Really kind of rounds it out to be this like complete DAW now. I know a lot of people have wanted this function for a very long time. A few things on the lanes that they will take any audio. We can also do track comping for MIDI as well. So let's have a look here with my keys. So I've got various takes here for my the keys that I recorded here earlier. So track comping is available for MIDI, which is really, really nice. We can preview each one of our takes here on the side. And there we go. We can show the take lanes, take them away. Yeah. Track comping, take lanes, get amongst it. That's right, we've got multi-track comping also, so we can do multiple tracks at the same time. Basically speaking, they're always created. Like if you're going to record any kind of loop, it's always going to be created. So yeah. Let's move back up to my drums here, because I want to show you a couple of updates to our instrument racks, audio effect racks, and MIDI effect racks. Basically, our macro controls here. We now have a random button down the bottom here where we can randomize our macros. Super handy feature. And if we click on these little plus and minus icons down here, we get up to 16 macros. Super nice feature. We can also minimize these down to 1 macro also, which I think is really nice. Really sweet if you're perhaps building your own instrument racks, perhaps stuff that you want to develop and, give away for free, or put them up on your website, or whatever you want to do. If you want to be developing some devices, just these simple, nice, one dial, do something devices, which I'm a big fan of. Really nice feature. And underneath these plus and minus icons, we have this little camera icon. If we click on this guy, we get all of our macro variations. This is a place where we can take little snapshots of our macro dials. So if we've dialed in some randomness here, we can create a new variation and take a snapshot of this, or we could tweak these guys ourselves. Something which has lots of vintage, tons of glue, some more drive, and then we could overwrite that as well in our variation. We can rename it, call this Mr. Ed Rollo's kit, and then that's there. It's like my preset within a preset kind of thing. And you'll notice this is the default 808 kit core that comes with the Ableton Live core library. And we have these presets already dialed into here, like clean, boomy, lo-fi, and hot. I think you're going to start seeing a lot more of this with instruments and audio effects and MIDI effects as well. With the Ableton Live core library, we're going to see when you drag in a sound, you're going to have variations of that sound. When you drag in audio effects, you're going to have 3 or 4 different variations of that audio effect too. We mentioned earlier the templates category, and underneath the templates category, there is the podcast template, which is something that comes as a default here. And if we dive into this guy, we have a little mastering suite with some nice macros here, and then we have a place for our music, our ambience, and our voiceover. And you notice down here we have these variations on the voiceover, like standard, bright, transparent, and heavy compression. Get that really nice podcast voice. I've been using this one recently, actually. It's working out really, really well. All right, so the macros, we've covered that. Next thing we need to look at, whilst we're looking at tracks, so I'm going to show you quickly here. I'm just going to insert some audio tracks here. Command T, Command T, Command T, and Command T. Let's go back over to our percussion that we had. I'm going to drop it in here. Loops are a little long, so let's just bring them back here. And what I'm going to do is highlight all of these tracks, right-click, and link these tracks together. So what this is going to do is actually now all the content within these tracks is going to be treated like one piece of material, whether it's a MIDI track or it's audio tracks. When we select this top clip here, it picks up everything in that range. I could select something in the middle here, it's going to pick up everything within those linked tracks. We can move them around, accidentally wipe over our percussion. We can move them to the left, move them to the right. We can just slice in the middle here and take slices, and this is going to be treated like all one piece of content. We can also do our fades, which is super nice. Really nice feature. Slice this guy, move it over here. Super nice. This little icon on the side here is telling us that these tracks are linked, and when we hover over, it's really nice indication of which tracks have been linked. We can right click on the title here and actually unlink an individual track, but these 3 tracks are still linked. So we could drag this guy over here, but this one remains as it is. Do some more fades, do some more slices, some more edits, and we can do some track arming. Now, Command G, and then we can right click and link tracks from the group, and we can unlink tracks from the group also. Super nice for, you know, multi-takes. Say you had you were recording a drum kit and you had 8 different channels with all your different microphones for a drum kit. You could just treat that like one piece of audio now. Super nice feature. Okay, how are we going for time? Ooh, we're almost at 10 o'clock. I really want to dive into some new features, into some new devices, sorry. So let's do that now without wasting any more time. Let's head up to our audio effects, and I want to show you the new Spectral time device. Let's go into picture modulation. You'll find Spectral time. I'm just going to drop it down here onto my percussion. And straight away out of the bat, this guy is an audio effect which is based on spectral processing. What it does is actually takes little slices and slices the audio up into little particles and then feeds them into this frequency-based delay. The whole world of frequency or spectral manipulation, I should say, is pretty complex stuff. I have a very basic understanding of it, that when we're typically dealing with with our amplitude over time waveform, something like our percussion hit up here, we're seeing amplitude over time. What a spectral processing is basically taking a look at that audio, but looking at the spectrum of it. So we're now looking at frequency over time, and we have our low frequencies and our high frequencies and our mid frequencies, and we can kind of see this in a 2-dimensional picture. And once we have this picture of the audio, we can then process it in like super unique ways that we wouldn't be able to create otherwise. What I'm going to do here is just switch off the delay and just run this percussion through Spectral time so you can see this spectrogram in action. So you're seeing all the different frequencies here of the audio, with our low frequencies down the bottom here and our mid frequencies up the top. Let's turn on the delay though and have a quick listen to it. Pretty standard, just kind of time and feedback there. But as we start messing around with the shift dial and the tilt dial, you really start to hear this delay take effect. Loads of fun to be had there. Let's just turn this delay off for a minute here, and we'll go over to the freezer function. I'm going to head down to the retrigger onsets mode here, and what this is going to do is actually listen for those transients of sound that I can set and then it's going to play those partials just after the fact, and we get these really nice kind of syncopated rhythms. So I'm going to turn the freezer on, and let's have a listen to this guy. Let's bring the sensitivity dial right up. Bring the dry wet up. Yeah. So really nice to sort of lay a foundation for something. I could imagine running this through some reverb and some EQ and creating this kind of ambient sound textures for the bass of a tune. Really sweet device, actually. Spectral Time. Let's move on. I want to show you the new reverb, which is the hybrid reverb. I was delaying showing you this guy because I was wanting to wait for this moment. Really nice reverb, a combination of a convolution reverb and an algorithmic reverb. We can blend between those two reverbs here. We've got convolution on the left here in the yellow, and we've got algorithmic in the blue on the right. And blending between these two guys, we have various algorithms of the way these guys interact. We have different algorithms for the algorithmic reverb, dark hall, quartz, shimmer, tides, and prism. These all have totally different characteristics of sound. We're just on the dark hall mode at the moment here. Let's have a quick listen to it. Really nice. Over here on the side, we have some vintage modes. You've got to click and drag this guy to take advantage of them, but this is a really nice way to add a bit more character to the sound. We have a mono cutoff here of about 180 hertz, which is really nice for a reverb. We can head over to the EQ. We have a really nice 4-band EQ here. And then we have a pre-delay, which is linked to the feedback down here too. Pretty nuts being able to get those kinds of effects from a reverb, really. We also have a freeze function here too, which is super nice. But a really nice function of this guy is that with the convolution reverb, this is acting with impulse responses or impact responses, and we can select from the folders down here of all sorts of various samples and impacts. But what I've been loving doing is actually heading over to our sample library here and just grabbing some really nice melodic content, dropping it in here, and just have a listen to the results we can get from this. Super cool. Really, really excited for the hybrid reverb. Really, really nice effect. Let's move on. Let's keep going. Redux. We're up. Redux is up. Now, Redux is not exactly a new device, but it has been upgraded. Redux just does what it does a lot better now. It's a lot smoother. It's not quite as harsh as it used to be because we have this extra functionality, which we can now kind of dial it in a little bit more. We even have a dry-wet control down here, which is super nice. I'll bring the... let's just have a quick listen to it. It's that classic sound we're all really used to. We can introduce a bit of jitter here, which is going to add a bit of noise to the sound. And then we have these pre and post filters down the bottom here too. I'll just put the post filter on. I'm going to change this octave here. Whoa. It gives me shivers when I hear that in my headphones. It just sounds really sweet. I really like that. Let's just reset these guys. I want to head over to the bit depth here. And as we bring this guy down, we have the shape dial, which is going to kind of round out these the sounds here so it's not so choppy and not so glitchy. All right, really glitchy. Let's bring up some of this shape. Yeah, super nice. And then we also have this DC shift, which is going to offset the amplitude offset, I believe, and it's going to add some really, really crazy distortion. Yeah. And then we've got this dry wet down here, which is going to really help us out. So the new Redux, really nice. Let's head up to pitch and modulation. We've got a chorus ensemble and phaser flanger. So these guys, really nice, getting kind of packaged together. They look a little bit more Max for Livey. They've been tidied up. We've got the classic chorus down here. Then we've got ensemble, which adds a third voice to make an even thicker and even richer sound. And then we have vibrato on the side here, which is fantastic for adding just a little bit of constant pitch modulation to our sound. What I'll do is drop this on my whirly keys up here, and I'm going to bring the amount rate up a fair bit, and I'm just going to play this actually to its extreme so you can hear it. Yeah, you get the idea. Pretty crazy. But as we bring this amount down, we can get something really tasteful. Yeah. Giving us that kind of lo-fi kind of sound. And then we can bring the warmth dial up here too. This is going to add some distortion and a little bit of filtering. Yeah. I'm a big fan of this. I really love that. Let's head back over to phaser flanger here. We've got phaser and flanger. These guys have been packaged together. We have a little breakout view here with all the extra controls of these guys. But if we head over to the doubler here, this is new, and this is going to add an extra time delayed signal. It's going to split the signal and give us a time delayed signal, which we can adjust via the time control down here. Solid the percussion. Where things get really crazy is when we start messing around with the modulation frequency and the feedback here. Loads of fun to be had with this guy. We've got this warmth dial down here also, where we can add a bit more of that character to the sound. So phaser flanger, chorus ensemble, really nice updates there. All right, this brings me to Spectral resonator. This has got to be my favorite device. Let's drop this guy down into its separate audio track here. Now, what I'd like to do is actually take an input from my own voice to demonstrate this guy. So I'm going to have to set something up here real quick. Just going to mute my voice when the time is right. Okay, so we don't get a doubling up of sound. Now, Spectral resonator. So this is a very high quality spectral processor. Breaks up the spectrum of incoming audio into partials and then stretches and shifts and blends that sound around. You can kind of use this like a vocoder, like a harmonizer. You can throw it on all sorts of different instruments and get some really, really nice results. The best way to show how this guy works is through demonstration. So let's do that right now. I'm going to take let's put the input from my microphone. I'm just going to mute it on my side so I'm not doubling up. And this is Spectral resonator. You can hear the high quality spectral processing going on. It's pitching my voice according to the frequency. Yeah, now that's just me trying to talk normally into my microphone to demonstrate this guy. But where this gets really powerful is when we start utilizing it for the MIDI sidechain function here, where we can actually take an input from a melodic source or MIDI to trigger the pitch, and it's going to determine the frequency. So what I'll do here is take an input from my bass, and let me arm this track again, and let's turn off a couple of things here. We'll turn off the chords. Let's just play the bass, the key, the drums, and the whirly, and my voice. Let's arm this guy again. And this, there we go. This is the Spectral resonator being pitched by my bass. You can hear I'm just trying to speak normally into the microphone, but it's pitching my voice as I talk. This is a really weird way to demonstrate how an audio effect works, but I think it's a very powerful device. Oh yeah. Oh man, super embarrassing doing this stuff, but I hope you get the idea. Oh man, I wish I could like rap or something. It'd be so much better, but that was my very vanilla demonstration there. Let me put on the whirly keys here, because I want to show you this in poly mode. This was just in monophonic mode, but in poly mode this becomes extremely powerful. I'm just going to solo my voice, and it's going to take an input from my keys, or my whirly keys up here, and just have a listen to how powerful this is, and I'll cycle through some of the different modes here. I really hope you guys are listening in stereo, because it does sound really incredible. Yeah. So this is Spectral resonator going through my whirly keys. I should say it's being triggered via the sidechain. I hope you're listening in stereo. This is the chorus mode and the Wanderer mode. This is probably my favorite device in live. All right, enough of this. There you go. You've seen how it works. I hope that was inspiring and you're excited to take advantage of this yourself. You can also use this with the push or with a MIDI keyboard and actually play the chords out and sing along with it or speak into it. We can also do some cool things like let's drop this on my drums up here. Let's just solo my drums and get some pretty nice effects out of this as well. Let's bring the transposition down. Yeah, so I've got this going over all of my drums, but if I was to say just drop this over my kick drum, then it would just be like adding this extra bit of resonance to my kick drum, and we've almost got this bass line going along with my kick drum, and really nice. Just so many different applications for Spectral resonator. Absolutely fantastic. All right. That almost wraps up all of the devices. At least it wraps up all of the devices that I'm able to show you today. Now, as of yet, the beta that I'm on is the beta 18, I believe, and I still don't have access to Pitch Loop 89 and the new Inspired by Nature pack. So I'm really, really excited to get stuck into these guys. I've seen a couple of demonstrations of them already, and they look super powerful. I have a couple of little show notes here on Pitch Loop 89. It's the tape delay style effect with pitch shifting capabilities. We can create jittery glitch effects, delayed digital shimmers, and outlandish vibrato with this Max for Live pitch shifting device created in collaboration with Robert Henk and inspired by the Publison DHM89, an early digital effects processor. It's a flexible tool to add character and sound in the studio, or for the moment, or for in the moment experimentation on stage. So I have seen a little bit of this guy, and it does look incredibly powerful. We get some really nice glitchy, like reverse effects, kind of like tape delay, granular kind of stuff, like really, really nice effect, which I can't wait to get my hands on. The Inspired by Nature pack as well is huge. There's going to be 6 new devices added to that, including instruments. We have 6 playful instruments and effects created in collaboration with Dylan Baston that use natural and physical processes as their inspiration. Now, I've seen a couple of these devices, and they're like drone synths and some probability stuff, like so much exciting stuff coming. So certainly don't take these native live devices as the only additions. There's so much coming to the Max for Live world. All right, we're not doing too badly for time. I'm going to dive into the comments soon. There's a lot of chat going on, and I'm going to have to try to do my best to get through this. There's just a few more little things which we'll go into real quickly, and then we'll dive into the chat, and we'll say hi. If you've got any questions, please fire them in the chat. I'm going to do my best to answer them ASAP. Let's head over to Session View, and here we have, I'm going to take you up to the top right-hand corner here, where we now have a dedicated spot for our BPM and our time signature. We also have this really nice responsive numbering system. So if I insert a bunch of scenes here, just Command-I, we're going to get this updated numbering system just like you would like. Notice how all these guys here are blank, but we get a nice numbering system here. If we double click on the scenes, we now have a new control down here. We have scene follow actions, which is a really nice tool. We can assign an action. We have all the same actions here, but we have a new one, which is the jump feature. So we can jump to a specific scene of our choice. The percentage dial here, this was updated from the ratio. We now have I guess it's like a probability slider, and then our action time down the bottom here of when this action is going to take place, either after bars, beats, or 16ths, which we can select. Then once we have a few clips in here, and then we've assigned some follow actions, we get these little stripy play buttons. And then we also have a scene follow action, or a follow action global disable and enable button. In the top left corner, we have a new follow button. Next to the link button here, if we select the follow button, Live is actually going to sync its BPM to an external audio input source. We set this up in our preferences under the audio. No, it's the link, tempo, and MIDI tab. And we have the tempo follower where we can either show the actual button itself, and then we can take an input. And I've actually experimented with this, like just beatboxing into my microphone to see if Live would clock the BPM, and it does a pretty good job. I've also run things like my TR8 drum machine and just run a kick drum into it to see how Live would track that as well. And it's been doing a pretty good job so far. But I do imagine that this function was designed for a live drummer who was mic'd up, and then you could take an audio input from that and Live would sync the BPM to the drummer. I think it's a fantastic feature. Not all of us will be able to benefit from that, but certainly for us, for all the stage performers out there, or just dudes jamming who want to be able to clock with a computer. Super nice feature. Although we will be relying on the drummer to keep the time, but I suppose that's what they're there for. I want to make sure I haven't missed anything here. I'm surely have. There's a few updates to the CPU meterage down here. We now have CPU meterage by track down the bottom, which is really nice. We can see how much load is being put on each individual track. And then in the top right hand corner, we have the average and current CPU meterage, and we can select which one of those we want to see, which is a super nice one. The current CPU meterage may not necessarily be a good indication of our actual CPU meterage. or CPU usage, I should say. Loads of updates to the core library, loads of updates to existing instruments. New packs are coming. We have one called VoiceBox, Cinematic Tools, and the Inspired by Nature one that I mentioned earlier. Super excited to explore these devices. Haven't got my hands on them yet, but some really nice orchestral instruments. We've got new upright pianos pack. I mean, there's so much coming. Yeah, but I think that's about it. I'm going to leave it at that for now, unless something comes to me. But let's go back to talk mode, and we'll dive into the chat. Let's start from the start. Go through here. Let's do some shout outs. Hi, Sebastian. Hey, Alpha Juno. Bad boy. I hope it's free. I believe it is not free. I believe it will be a paid upgrade. Don't quote me on that, but that's just my understanding of it. There goes my money. Yes, sorry, Brian. That's the way these things go. Is the beta free? At this stage, I believe you can sign up for the beta. Yes, ADSR has just put the link in there if you would like to sign up for the beta program. Get your hands on the beta. Brian, looks great. Thanks, man. Upgrade is on sale right now for pre-order. Beta is free if you already own Ableton. This is correct. Yes, you can do an upgrade sale. So if you purchase live now, I think that there's a discount which will allow you to actually purchase the full version when it's out. Going to switch from FL to Ableton. Good to hear, my man. Good on you, sticky man. I hope I could buy it now. Giuseppe, man, just all things come to those who wait. I wonder if when Push 3 is released, if it will have more MP features. Very good speculation. I have no idea on that. But yeah, it would kind of make sense if there is a new controller coming that it would have this kind of capability. Be really nice. Snowchild, when is the official release? I don't have an exact date for you, but I know it's going to be early next year. Truth be told, you can do MPE with multiple channels armed using the same instrument. Yeah, you can. Yeah, there is some hacks around doing MPE. You won't necessarily have the same functionality, in my honest opinion, if you don't have an MPE enabled instrument. This is going to make 808 pitch bends a piece of cake. That's true. Very true. Looks like it's from 1992. Rightio. Let's keep going. We're so happy to see them adding the velocity probability parameter. Yeah, totally. We'll save so much time on programming drums. I'm with you all the way. Lack of motivation. Well, hopefully that's motivated you a little bit. Is there a way to freeze the probability? Very good question. As far as I'm aware, you can't at this stage. The way I've been doing it is actually doing takes of MIDI. So if you set up a MIDI track and then arm that track and record your ideas, and then you'll have your take lanes created with different MIDI information. So take lanes are also available for MIDI, not only audio. Super nice feature. And so with the randomized tools, this is a fantastic pairing of these two worlds. Have some randomization going on and then recording those ideas in multiple takes and then pick and choosing your best takes. Super cool. The probability thing is great, but everyone developers only implement uniform probability by having the option for probability. So that's a mouthful, Nick Skywalker. I might have to come back to that one. Yeah, freezing would be ideal. I'm totally with you on that. Yeah, not that I know of that it's possible yet. The randomized tool. Yeah, it's a sort of a way to freeze that probability in a way, but still the probability algorithm, it's randomizing the probability of the notes being played, so it still doesn't quite freeze the probability state of the note, if that makes sense. What OS X will the update work with? I don't want to say this because I don't actually know. I've got this running on the latest version of OS X, so I believe it's still working. Maybe not. I think there was an update recently. Just please don't quote me on that because I honestly don't know. So good and helpful that scales thing is. Yes, man, you're totally right. Lucian, I think I'm getting that right. We are all here for the comping. Yeah, totally. Are you using the individual note pitch bend in that loop? I'm not exactly sure what you're referring to. Individual note pitch bend in that loop. If you're referring to the chords, then that was utilizing note pitch bend. That's correct. And yeah, the notes were done individually, so individually pitching each one of those notes. It's not a global pitch bend, it's like an individual bend. One was going up, one was going down. Well, two were going up, I think. Comping is a godsend from Medic. Shout out to Medic. How are you, man? Thanks for tuning in, buddy. Can you fold the comping tracks? Yeah, you can. I just think I demonstrated that. Hope comping will not be as confusing as Cakewalk. I don't think it is. I think it's pretty simple. Just bought Sweet yesterday. I'm so glad. Good on you, man. Good on you, Bodzio. Chester, Sweet is dope. Yeah, it is. Can you box? All right. The macros, Chester. Yeah, man. Super helpful. All right. Lots going on here. I'm going to keep scrolling down. Are you planning on showing new push to integration update with Live 11? With the push to integration update, there's not a lot that's been added. We have the scales mode is now responsive. We have the polyphonic pressure capabilities now, and we also have 16 macros are available on the push. A lot of the new devices show up really nicely in the push too. I didn't want to focus on the push as much today because I thought the focus was really on the software. So yeah, sorry about that, buddy. I did have multiple camera angles set up before, but I thought I really just wanted to focus on the software for this. The chords remind me of Clockwork Orange, Nick Skywalker. Wow, okay, I'm going to have to go check that out. Thanks for that. Sounds great. Thanks, Ginye. Thanks, buddy. You able to... I need to make my window bigger to see all of these. Logic is something like... yeah, lots of... Top reasons to shift to this version of Ableton from Logic Pro for someone who doesn't play live. Top reasons to shift to this version of Ableton from Logic Pro X for someone who doesn't play live. Man, it's personal choice. It's totally up to you. I'm always going to be totally biased, man, because I've been a live user from the start. I never really was experienced with any other DAW. So for me, it's been basically all I knew, and I've never really looked back. It sort of has always done what I've wanted it to do. And you can start like picking things and going side by side, and it really comes down to your own personal needs and your own personal wants. For me, on a personal level, I love the simplicity of it, of the live interface. For other DAWs out there, I find that things can get really overcrowded, really clunky and messy, and there seems to be this really big focus on the GUI, on the graphical user interface, of like making it look really flashy and, you know, shadows and depth of field and three-dimensional stuff. I don't care about any of that stuff. I just want to be able to make really good music really easily and not get too overwhelmed with what I'm looking at. And live is just so perfect for that. It's just so, I don't know if transparent is the right word, but intuitive, I suppose, is a good word for it. Yeah. But yeah, man, personal choice. Feel like there isn't a reason to switch doors unless there is a lot of specific things that will improve your workflow in another door. Yeah, well, that's a good reason, man. Do you know if micro tuning would be available anytime soon? I don't know. This has been a lot of people have been asking this question. Not that I know of yet. Would have been nice, but we'll have to wait and see. All right, just jumping over to Facebook as well. Cannot wait. Tiny Bites. Nice one, man. Neither can I. Even though I'm just on the beta, I really can't wait for the full version. Smooth. Shell below, thanks, man. Thank you. Drums, Tiny But, yep. Own live studio. Any idea of how much it will cost? I really don't know, guys. It's about all I have. So, yeah, I wouldn't know anything about the price. Look, we might wrap up there, guys. I hope this has been a really good and informative first look of Live 11. I'm still discovering a lot of this stuff myself and getting used to, you know, explaining things to other people. So I really hope I did a good job. If you did want to check out a little bit more about what I do, Mr. Ed Rollo, you can find me on Instagram, on YouTube, on Facebook, at Mr. Ed Rollo, MREDROLLO. Anyway, guys, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much to ADSR Sounds for having me back on the stream. It's been an absolute pleasure. I think these guys are doing some great things with all these free live streams for you guys. Until next time, keep creating, everybody. Bye for now.